got the bedding and I stretch before I wash my face. To survive, about to take him to another place. And she said I'm Superman to a lowest lane. It's out of game, no odds and nothing ain't to clear the way. You gotta go, but to achieve it, you gon' need some faith.
Episode 34 of Off the Bench, presented by Diplomacy Clothing. My name is Jorge. Welcome. However you may be listening, whether it's Spotify or watching us on YouTube or listening to us on SoundCloud. We're going to be moving to Apple Podcasts very soon, so stay tuned for that. So apparently the WWE decided it was a good time to start testing for coronavirus, COVID-19. And we're in June, and they just now have decided. We're in June. June is about to end, actually. And WWE and Vince McMahon thought it would be a great idea to start testing now, because all they did was sanitize the Performance Center and just check people's temperatures. Following guidelines. Mind you, UFC has been testing for coronavirus. AEW has been testing for coronavirus. Pretty much every sport that has come back have tested all their athletes for coronavirus. They don't just do the bare minimum and just check their temperature. You do the bare minimum when you go in to a hospital for just a physical, just to check your... Just because you have an appointment with your doctor or there's something wrong. You don't, if you're going into work, sure, maybe you need a temperature check. But when you're, and by work I mean just like office, but even so, it's highly recommended that you go get tested. Like 99% chance you need to go get tested before you go into your office. And the fact that WWE has taken so long to start testing, and now all of a sudden all these cases coming up, I think they're saying it's at least 24 of WWE employees. I'm not even calling them like superstars wrestlers. They're employees, people working in the ring, the NXT talent that works as the crowd factor, the people in the back, everyone. At least 24 have already tested positive. And because they're continuing to test, that number's going to go up and only go up. And this just speaks to how little Vince McMahon cares. How disconnected he is to the rest of the world and what's going on. And now, because of Vince McMahon's ignorance and just the blatant disrespect he has towards his employees and towards this whole pandemic, he fires Paul Heyman because the ratings are down. And now, Renee Young, who is with, she's with Jon Moxley over at AEW. She is positive for coronavirus. She has been sick for some time. She's feeling better. And Jon Moxley has tested negative. But this is an issue, because every other promotion, every other sport has been taking it seriously. WWE has not. And this is a huge issue. And yeah, it's being talked about right now because they're still testing, but the fact of the matter is, when you see people like Bayley tweeting out, wear a mask, why don't you tell that to your employer? Why don't you tell that to the higher ups at WWE? You're the SmackDown Women's Champion, and you're like, wear a mask. Well, apparently your boss doesn't care. And then the reports coming out with the family and friends that were in attendance in the recent tapings, how they were told by Kevin Dunn, apparently, that if you wear a face mask, you're not a real wrestling fan? Seriously? That's what we're doing? That's the route we're going? And I understand right now, there's a group of people that, like from the anti-vax group that also don't believe that COVID can spread easily, that a face mask is not necessary. As a company, You have to look out for the well-being of your employees. And by telling your employees, friends, and family members who are coming to act as a crowd because it took you weeks to realize your shows are not as good without a crowd. And even so, with that NXT talent as a crowd, it doesn't match up to what AEW does. And AEW has been great. They say if you don't feel like coming into work because of coronavirus, if you don't want to come in, don't come in. Your push won't get stopped. You won't get punished. There's not going to be... And punished is a very interpretive term. Because punished, you could say, oh, well, fired. Well, he didn't get fired. It's stuff like that. But when I say that, I mean, get stripped of a title. Lose their push. That's what punished I take as in the wrestling business. WWE says the same thing right after AEW tells their wrestlers this about the no consequences, no stopping of your push. Roman Reigns decides to sit out. All of a sudden, everything about Roman Reigns scrapped. There's no mention of Roman Reigns on anything. When they were doing when they're doing the highlights of the WrestleMania, when Seth Rollins cashed in, it was just Seth and Brock. Roman Reigns nowhere to be found. Like any highlight that they showed recently, since Roman Reigns decided to not go into work, it's just him being cut out, and you're like, everyone took that as being weird, but it's like, all right, whatever. Maybe we'll let that slide. A lot of people let it slide. It was a big thing at the time. And then Sami Zayn says he's not going to go in. He was the Intercontinental Champion at the time. What did they do? They strip him of the title because he's not there to defend it. But you can have a part-timer in Brock Lesnar show up every couple of months as WWE Champion, as Universal Champion, and he doesn't get his title stripped because he's not defending it as much. Do you understand what I'm saying here? WWE doesn't make sense with their reasoning. They say because of this pandemic, you're good if you want to stay home. We're not going to strip you of any titles. You'll be fine. But then when you decide to stay home, they pretty much write you off history until you come back. If you come back. Sami Zayn, in Sami Zayn's case, we gave you this mid-card title, and now we're going to take it away from you because you're not going to be here to defend it. We don't know when you're going to be back. And in one sense, yeah, you understand why you would want to do that. But in the next, why continue with him as Intercontinental Champion? And again, it goes back to Vince McMahon not taking this pandemic seriously. He's not serious about it. And he's literally the only promoter, the only person running some form of entertainment or sports on television that isn't taking it seriously. I mean, why would you wait 3-4 months down the road to start testing everyone for coronavirus when you could have done it from the get-go? UFC had their event canceled, and then they had to start doing everything. They had to test everyone. They had no fans. They tested all their fighters. For Fight Island, me and Roland mentioned that they're going to have their own little community, their own bubble, and everyone's going to be tested. And even in the first fight in the States, where they're going to have an event, they had to make sure everyone was tested before the fights took place. And WWE, they claimed they had the best situation, but all they did was check your temperature. When even as Dr. Fauci even said, where if you're asymptomatic, it's less likely that you that the COVID would be contagious by asymptomatic people. That's only recently. That's only about a week ago from time of recording on June 25th. We've had 2.5 months where everyone assumed, whether you're asymptomatic or you're showing symptoms, just wear a face mask, sanitize, wash your hands, and even with Dr. Fauci's comments, he still recommends we wear a mask. Even that's a whole different political story about like his whole comments throughout this whole thing, but that's what I'm gathering. That's what I'm going to say about it right now in terms of what's going on in WWE. And the fact that a lot of people aren't wearing masks in this tape show, and you looked at AEW, which you have to mention AEW because that's their biggest competitor right now, who's stealing all their Wednesday night ratings and viewers. You look at them, yeah, sure, there's people without a mask, but there's also people with a mask. And it's not it's not rocket science. Obviously, if you want to stay safe, if you say a face mask is optional, then it's optional. Then you can have some people with a mask and some people without a mask. But as long as there's a mask and people are aware that they can wear a mask, then you're fine. And then you look at what WWE did recently. Bring in Ric Flair. Ric Flair had a heart. he had heart issues. He's not 100% healthy. Ric Flair needs to be home. He needs to just go out for groceries and not be around the performance center at all. And now he's involved with Randy Orton. Like what? What? Ric Flair is in that age range that is most likely to be affected by coronavirus. And you, Vince McMahon, have the gall to put Ric Flair's health in peril for viewers, for ratings? And shame on you, Bruce Pritchard, for not speaking up. Shame on you. Bruce Pritchard, the biggest Vince McMahon kiss ass. It's ridiculous. And you know what? Shame on that whole WWE locker room, because everyone keeps defending that company. Everyone who works there defends that company to their grave, because it gave them opportunities that they would never have believed. Like, fam, your company doesn't care about your health. This much proves it. How can this many people test positive? How can you allow this duration of time to pass where they don't test for it? And all of a sudden, because one fan that was a family or a friend of one of the wrestlers that came in tested positive, now they have to test everyone because there's a positive person. And now look at all these people that work for WWE that are positive. And then even the WWE doctors said that there should not have been friends and families at ringside. And then what do they do again on Raw? When the Street Profits had an entrance, they go and hang out in the crowd. You put plexiglass to separate from the wrestlers and the fans. They're quote unquote fans. And then you have the Street Profits doing their entrance with the fans. Like, what? What's the point of having the plexiglass if you're just gonna have the Street Profits go around the plexiglass and start dancing with the fans? What's the point? What are you doing? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's ludicrous, and not the rapper Ludacris. It's sad to see. And I say shame on you, WWE locker room, WWE superstars, because the one excuse that I automatically comes into my head that they're going to use is, well, what if we do say something to our boss and he fires us? Well, AEW's there, Impact is still doing some shows, but all of them are testing. Shoot, Xavier Woods knows more than anyone. He's bounced around the indies more as much as everyone else there. Vince McMahon truly has shown his true colors. He's shown his true colors this year. 2020 has painted Vince McMahon in the worst light that you want. The XFL started off, then with the pandemic, he doesn't suspend the league, but he just shuts it down, fires everyone. He's in the middle of a lawsuit with Andrew Luck. And kudos to Andrew Luck, because Andrew Luck is doing what everyone else that works for WWE and Vince McMahon, they don't have the gall to do. That's stand up to him. Andrew Luck says, you fired me before you shut down the league on some BS. Now I'm going to sue you. And Vince McMahon now puts the XFL on sale just so he can recoup from the losses. And this isn't even... And some people have issues with the McMahon family because of their Trump ties. This is the Trump ties are the least of their worries. And I say that because WWE was able to run tapings of Raw and SmackDown because Trump and they had pull from Trump and the Governor DeSantis to be able to be listed as an essential business. And it's just the point of this episode, this rant, a more calm rant than the Jamal Adams rant. Vince McMahon, if you're a WWE person, which I highly doubt if you work for WWE, you're watching this. But if you do work for WWE and you do watch this, shame on you for not standing up to Vince McMahon, because he doesn't give a damn about your health or your well-being. So why should you care about working for him? That's all I have to say. What do you guys think? If you're listening and watching on YouTube, hit the comment section. Let me know what you think about all these coronavirus positive cases coming out of WWE. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button to keep up to date with all the latest episodes. I know I mentioned Roland was going to talk about NASCAR, but a lot more pressing issues are coming at hand. We haven't even done a week in review yet, so we're trying to work everything out. But I had to get this out off my chest, man, because WWE is a very despicable company. Despicable. Anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon to get notified when a new episode comes up. And again, follow us on Facebook, Instagram at Off the Bench Pod. We will be coming to Apple Podcasts very soon, so we're going to be all over the map. Make sure you keep an eye out for that. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned. It's time to get ready.